Hello, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Generation Red, the kettle corn of Husker Fan Podcast, where we try to be sweet, but at times we get salty. I am your host, Ken.
Hello, I am your host, Scott.
And tonight we will be previewing the Northwestern game here in a few minutes. We'll give you some stats, compare some season-long stats between the two teams, see where they're ranked nationally as well as in the Big Ten, and see if maybe that gives us some insight as to how this team will go. We'll give you a couple of players to watch for each team as well as our score predictions, all that fun stuff. But before we get into that, interesting, I don't know if you've seen it, Scott, the DBR Rewind episode that just hit YouTube. I think it was Thursday. Technically it was episode 1 and 2, I guess, of this new series that Nebraska Huskers is putting out.
I haven't watched it yet.
Well, cool, because you'll get to see here in just a couple minutes a little context behind this right here. The first tidbit is a quote from Matt Rule, and this is a quote specifically from his pregame speech before the NIU game. Remember, you're coming off of the Colorado game and all the craziness that was the first 2 weeks of the Husker season. So Rule gets up in front of his troops, and he says this.
Let's lock in on this moment right now. Let's lock in on this moment right now. Let's all just be here for a second, all right? I'm dead serious. Like, take a minute. Let's just be, everybody be right here. Okay? You guys worked your ass off to be right here. So let me tell you what's going to happen today. Okay, let me tell you what's going to happen today. We're putting away childish things. Okay, we're putting away fear because there's no reason for us to be afraid. Okay, we're putting away expectation. We are going to go out there today and we are going to play the way we play. It's about our football. It's about the things you freaking guys do. I don't want anybody on that field hoping or waiting. I want guys out there demanding it from themselves and believing in the guys next to them, believing in what they do. I want to see your personalities come out tonight. As long as you just win one rep at a time. I just want you one rep at a time. I don't want you getting pulled out. I don't want you thinking about the score. I don't want you thinking about shit else, man. Just like if we played these guys at practice. How would you guys be? You go after them. And that's what's happening tonight. I believe in you guys. That was clear. The coaches believe in you guys. You guys believe in each other, believe in yourselves, believe in the process, one snap at a time. RDV, every snap, what's next? Play like brothers. Play like brothers. Pick each other up. Help each other out tonight, man. That's why we've gone through what we've gone through. The camp you went through, the first 2 weeks, but there ain't no victims here. If we die, we die. If we die, we die. But go steal home base like Ron said. Go do it tonight. Go make your place. Go be you. Just be brotherhood. Let's go, man.
Boy, that had a long tail end on that. I apologize for that, folks. But what an amazing speech. You can tell his dad's a preacher. He's heard his pop work up sermons that probably sounded very similar to that, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, aren't they Southern Baptist or something like that?
I don't know. I know he was a pastor in like the New York area, so who knows? There was probably a lot of East Coast passion clearly behind how Rule speaks.
Well, I was thinking like rural Pennsylvania, like one of them rural churches out in the country, you know?
Right. Pastor Rule at a rural church. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that. Pun intended. Unintended. But yeah. No, that was pretty crazy. I mean, I hope our guys are starting to believe.
Well, I would love to. I hope they put out another episode that gives you maybe some speeches from the Michigan game. I don't know if they will because they really didn't cover anything with the first 2 weeks. They just kind of got to where Nebraska opened up at home, and I don't know if they had the rights to be able to film on the road very much. I mean, the video opened up with Rule telling the referee that he's going across the field to shake Coach Prime's hand at the end of the Colorado game, so at least they were there for that. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was a nice little tidbit to start the show off with, especially after watching that video earlier this week. It's about an hour long. It's fantastic. Chronicles all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes as they prepare for each game, the Louisiana Tech and NIU. Highly recommend it. Nebraska Huskers YouTube channel. So the next little tidbit, and this is the last one before we kind of get into the game preview, is this. Boomer from the Go Big Redcast on their last episode, he said they were talking about injuries and all that fun stuff. And he said, I just think it's great that we've got a lot of guys with some 8-man football experience because we might end up playing that way by the way this season is going.
Boomer.
Boomer's got the best takes, the snarky, sarcastic. He's just got the greatest sense of humor. And I thought
He
this
reaches
was
out into the ether and finds just the deep-rooted stuff that just speaks to your soul. You're like, wow, that's the subconscious thought I did not know existed until it existed.
It is so Nebraska too, because it's like I didn't even know friggin' 8-man football existed till we moved here.
Yeah,
in the early 90s, and I went to my first game at Giltner. I'm like, wait, what? 3 offensive linemen? This is weird, Yeah. So, well, we do have one more. First of all, before we get to it, we've got a viewer poll that's active right now, and it is active until 4:00. So go to our Twitter page at GenRedPod on Twitter.com, and you can participate in this viewer poll up through 4:00 when it expires. As of 2:00 today, it was a pretty close fight between Val's Pizza and Runza, and Fairbury Hot Dog was not too far ahead as far as what the viewers prefer as their food of choice in the stadium. I thought it's a good poll to put out there. We didn't play, so there was really no Nebraska football-related stuff that we could really talk about. Everybody and his mother is debating about whether Jeff Sims should get a shot starting against Northwestern or not, and I'm like, I'm not going there because until I find out who the starter is, it's really not worth speculating about, and it really doesn't do the team any good. God knows those kids got to read stuff and hear stuff, so I prefer to stay out of that fray. But anyway, there you go. That's the viewer poll. Your favorite food in the stadium. So please, twitter.com/@GenRedPod and vote on that poll. We'd appreciate it, and we will put the results up on the screen after 4:00 toward the end of the show. So
and then we will promptly discuss the inner workings of the politics that involve all of the food choices. There's a lot of pros and cons to them. You got to really weigh out your options here. They're all different.
For sure.
They all serve different purposes.
Absolutely. I'm torn between the Fairbury hot dog and the pizza myself. I've had really good pizza in Memorial Stadium, and I've had really bad pizza. And then I've gotten that Fairbury hot dog that's piping hot with the 4-day-old bun that is almost harder to chew than the hot dog. So, it's kind of hit or miss. A Runza is always mushy in the stadium. I've had numerous ones, and they're always mushy, and I don't care for mushy bread. It's not very appetizing for me. So, anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about this upcoming game with Northwestern. I threw some slides together. I just did kind of what we did toward the end of our Illinois review last week, and I pulled up all up to current stats for both teams going into the game, as far as where they rank nationally and where they rank in the conference. So for those of you who are listening, we've got some Google slides up on the stream here, so we'll read out some of these stats for you so that you're not lost along the way. Northwestern on offense. I'll let you do the defensive slide, Scott. Sound like a plan?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so yards per game on offense. Northwestern averages 306 a game. Nebraska 342. That ranks 123rd nationally for Northwestern, 105th nationally for NU. Northwestern is 13th in the conference in yards per game, while Nebraska is 9th. This is going to be a fun offensive showdown, isn't it? It's sure
exhilarating.
618 total rushing yards for Northwestern on the season so far. Nebraska's at almost double it, 1,203. 115th in the country rushing the football versus 15th in the country for Nebraska. And Northwestern, of course, would then be 12th in the conference running the ball, and Nebraska is still ranked first, even after the bye week. So that's pretty cool. I didn't double check those numbers this morning. I may needed to, but I did work all these up after the games had concluded last night. Total passing yards for Northwestern was 1,220. So they're quite a bit better than Nebraska, which has only 851. Northwestern's ranked 89th. Nebraska's ranked 125th. And in the conference, Northwestern is 7th and Nebraska is 12th. They're averaging 3 points per game more than Nebraska is at 22-19. And their national ranking is 107th. Their conference ranking is 8th, and Nebraska's national ranking is 122nd, and the conference ranking is 14th. Not a shocker there. Okay, go figure. Iowa's averaging more points than Nebraska. And who would have thought, as bad as that offense is? I mean, they're dead last in the Big Ten. I looked it up last night. Dead last in the Big Ten in 4 major total offensive categories. Dead last. And yet they're freaking 6-1. It's such an Iowa thing to do, you know.
It is so Iowan.
Anyway, total sacks allowed by the offenses, 22 for Northwestern, 14 for Nebraska. That means Northwestern is ranked 117th in the country in giving up sacks and 13th in the conference. Nebraska is not much better at 88th in the country and 11th in the conference. So there you go. That's the offensive numbers. I don't know what else to say other than the fact that this is probably going to be a snore fest. But there's some hope. Nebraska is that number 1 rushing offense in the conference, and Northwestern's defense is one of the worst against the run. So any thoughts on those numbers, Scott, other than, oh dear God, please let me have somebody have some success on Saturday and have them wear red?
I think it's going to look basically the same way that the Illinois game worked, is that some things work on offense, but most of the time it's all negated by something stupid. I think it's going to be one of the more lower scoring games. When I did my score prediction, there wasn't an available without paying for it to see what the early lines were. So
Right.
I actually have no idea where the line is at right now, but just on the offensive side of things right now, I think that it's pretty safe to say that if they've got us at right around a 45-50 over under, I would bet the under on that one.
Yeah, that would probably be a wise move. Let's see if there's a line at all.
Yeah, let me check.
Nope, I don't see anything yet.
Yep, no line on
No line.
ESPN, because I think it doesn't drop till Monday or at least Tuesday, because we're on that bye week.
So
yeah,
we probably won't see anything till early in the week. So anyway, now why don't you jump on, and there you go. That's at least a little bit more fun to look at as far as defense is concerned, because Northwestern's toward the bottom in just about all 5 of those categories, while Nebraska's toward the top. So, except for one.
Except for one. So it looks like right now Northwestern allows more yards per game than Nebraska. They allow about 30 yards more than we do, a little over 30, at about 360 for Northwestern yards allowed a game, whereas Nebraska is around 325. And on a national scale, that ranks Northwestern right in the middle of the pack, whereas Nebraska just barely creeps into the top 25. We are 25th. We are ranked 25th nationally in our yards per game allowed, where that makes us 5th in the conference, where Northwestern is 10th. And the total rushing yards allowed, Northwestern seems to allow a lot of rushing yards. They've allowed over 1,000 rushing yards so far this season, whereas Nebraska hasn't even allowed 500 yet. That ranks Northwestern, and they're 106th nationally, whereas Nebraska is in the top 10 at 8. That puts Nebraska in number 2 in the conference, whereas Northwestern is second to last. And then when you look at the passing yards, we're kind of even. I mean, Nebraska allows more yards at 1,400, over 1,400, whereas Northwestern only allowed 1,100. I think a lot of that just has to do with the offenses that Northwestern faced versus what we faced. Because I think if Northwestern had the same schedule that we did, I think those passing yards would be much more egregious. Because I think our secondary room is much more efficient than theirs is. I think we've just played against I don't even want to say we played against better talents. I think we've just played worse games than they have, which is surprising considering that they're a fired coach team right now. They're an interim coach team. That sucks to know. But that ranks Northwestern on the national scale 35th, whereas Nebraska is almost in the top 100 with 97th. Northwestern is 7th in the conference with that category, whereas Nebraska is 14th in total passing yards. So we are dead last in the Big Ten for passing yards allowed. Points per game allowed. Northwestern has a pretty sizable number, 27.3 yards per game. I mean, that's allowing 4 touchdowns a game on average. LOL. I hit my mouse button number 3, which goes back. So I'm looking at Northwestern's schedule right now, and it makes perfect sense why they have allowed 27.3 yards per game. And looking at their schedule has nothing to do with it. They just suck. So Nebraska is at 21 points per game allowed. That means that Northwestern is 83rd, whereas Nebraska is 41st nationally. And then total sacks allowed. Northwestern is allowed 10. Nebraska is allowed 14. Means that
no, it's total sacks that we've given.
Defenses that they've done. Yes. I was like, wait a second. I'm braining this up. Yes, so that makes them at 98th and Nebraska at 31st, and Northwestern is 10th in the conference, whereas NU is 3rd. For all those of you listening, seriously, if you want to just go to our channel right now on YouTube. If you are listening, just go click on our video, skip to about probably the 14-minute mark in there, and or I'd say like the 11-minute mark, and you can actually read these stats. It's kind of hard to follow when we're just talking about them. It's just a lot of numbers being thrown at you, but it is really important to get a visual understanding of kind of what we're looking at going into this game. I know I know that goes without saying, but seriously, like, this is fun looking at it.
Exactly. And I appreciate you saying that, Scott, because hopefully I'll remember today, since that's the whole reason we've kind of started doing these things in the afternoon, is so that I can start doing things like bookmarking the different chapters on these videos, so that people can just look right in the description of the video and you'll see the timestamp. Click on that timestamp in the description. It'll put you right to that spot on the video. So that's the plan anyway for this one. You know what sticks out to me right away is if we're going to get beat, we're going to get beat on the pass. But if I remember right, he's thrown 4 interceptions, their quarterback. So he's thrown 2 more interceptions than Harburg has. So he can be picked off. And, are they going to sell out to stop the run and force Harburg to throw, or Jeff Sims, or whoever starts? I'm guessing it's Harburg. That would be my guess, is they're going to load the box with 8 dudes and hopefully force Harburg to throw. And, Washington down now for the season with an ACL. Who the hell is he going to throw to besides Fedoni? And even as tall as Fedoni is, Harburg's figured out how to overthrow him a few times. So it could be ugly. I mean, really, really ugly. But I think our defense is going to have a heyday. I think if they've given up, what'd they give up for sacks? I'm going to go back a slide here, folks. I'm sorry. They've given up 22 sacks. Nebraska's given up 14.
And those 14 weren't really, half of them aren't even sacks. They were just scrambles that ended up behind the line of scrimmage.
Yep. So, I don't know. That's what sticks out to me, is the fact that Nebraska is going to want to run the ball. Northwestern has not done a good job of stopping that. We'll see if they figure out how to do it on Saturday. If there's a week Northwestern figures it out, it'd be this week. And if there's a week that Nebraska suddenly blows up throwing the football, it could be this week too. I mean, we just don't know. Like we've heard many people say, we've seen it on Twitter, there are 6 games out there that Nebraska has a shot to win. They truly do. Wisconsin looks beatable. We saw that yesterday. Maryland just got beat by freaking Illinois, of all people. So they're beatable. I mean, anything is possible. We could lose 6, we could win 6, we could go 3-3, we could go 4-2. I'm leaning 3-3 is looking much easier than it did even after the game last Friday night. So that's kind of my overall take when I look at the stats. Do you have any overall takes, overarching ideas of how you see these stats playing out in the game?
Yeah, I see it being one of those things that Northwestern, by default, they have to be a very scrappy team.
Mhm,
They're just playing off of instincts right now, as far as I could tell. I mean, they're getting coached, of course, duh.
mhm.
But because of the culture destabilization and the lack of continuity that's inevitably coming from your coach that you thought you were going to start the season with, no longer starting the season with you, I think basically if I were a coach in that situation, which is probably why I'm not a coach, it's just kind of like, just go play. Just go play, guys. Like, you have nothing to lose at this point. You
Mhm.
were expected to win 1 game this year, and you've already won 3. So,
Right.
just go play. Just let
Yep.
those instincts, let everything Coach Fitzgerald taught you permeate
Yeah.
into your soul, and just go do stuff. And so, when I see those stats, it's actually kind of freaky for me because our stats are not that different. There's a lot of
No.
categories that are just flip-flops. We are pretty even teams.
Mhm. Very
I
similar
just
to Illinois. Really
Yes,
is.
very, very similar to Illinois, and I think that this is gonna be another one of those games that we're gonna look at, and we're we're gonna know that our defense is still got a long ways to go. Because I think
Mhm.
Northwestern, they're gonna have to be scrappy, they're gonna have to at some point, they're gonna have to get creative, and I think
Yeah.
that
Well,
Nebraska is not necessarily in the most advantageous position for, um, that kind of football game, like, I just feel like our defense is gonna struggle a lot in this game. It's all my feelings, but I just feel like our defense is gonna struggle a lot in this game. I just feel it. And it's gonna be a painfully
wow.
close game
Yeah,
again.
you know what? Historically, our defense has struggled against Northwestern for whatever reason, except for that 2021 game
That
when
was
we
an
jumped out
anomaly.
on them quick, and then there was nothing they could do about it.
Mhm.
But other than that, it's been a rock fight, for our defense against that offense. And like you said, surprisingly, they're 3-3. I thought this was ripe for an 0-12 season, simply not just because of an interim coach. That wouldn't it, but when the players and other staff members are wearing free, Pat Fitzgerald or We Support Pat or whatever those T-shirts were that they had made. I thought there was going to be a lot of dissension and a lot of guys not really playing, but by God, they're playing like Pat coached them. So
Mhm.
good for them. I hope they lose
Mental fortitude
horribly.
of that
Yeah,
team is impressive. I
so
mean,
certainly.
looking at their schedule, I mean, hold on. Let me actually look at it this time, not just for some quippy joke. I mean, looking at their schedule, it's the same as ours. They have the
Mhm.
same final games that we do. Um, so they could go 6-6. I mean,
Sure.
it's it's one of those. This is one of those games where, or I guess if you were to take Northwestern and Illinois, it is quite literally the opposite now than it was at the beginning of the season. Where I'm looking at it
Yep.
and I go, I feel like we had a better chance of beating Illinois last week than I feel right now going into Northwestern. I feel like we have a chance for an upset here.
Could
Um,
be.
I just
And maybe
until I see our
other
guys
maybe
until
this
I
next slide will not help you at all. That in fact, it
oh
might hurt your perception. Um, so here you go. The difference between the 2 teams in turnover margin. Now, they're not in the plus. They're dead even. They've lost as many as they've gotten, but Nebraska is -7. Albeit, we've taken care of the ball better at the quarterback level since Heinrich Harburg's been the starter, but Anthony Grant's dropped it a couple times. We saw Emmett Johnson drop one. Um, Omar Brown's been a little or Tommy Hill, no, it is Omar Brown, isn't it, that's been returning kickoffs lately? He tends to be a little chicken winging with the
mm,
football, so this is where, to me, the game's won or lost. I think our defense will be fine. They may have some issues between the 20s, but that's kind of the way, especially throwing the ball, that's the way White's got this defense designed, and then they just bow up when it matters. Um, but there you go. We're ranked 130th. They're ranked 63rd in turnover margin. We're almost last in the Big Ten, whereas they are ninth in the Big Ten in turnover margin. So they're not great, but they're better than we are, which
wait, who's
really
worse
is
than
saying.
Nebraska in the Big Ten?
Good question. I think it might be Illinois. I don't
Could be
remember for sure when I looked, but
maybe Michigan State too, because
could be
they're a really
Michigan
sloppy
State. Yeah,
team.
they're sloppy too.
But no,
Um,
no, this is actually quite a hilarious point that you brought up in a slide, because I was about to like roll into that. That it's like I think
Yeah.
when it's all said and done, something's gonna fail. We lose this game because of something failing on our defense or something failing on our offense. That like
Mhm.
they either are just proficient in their offense or we just give them the ball too
Okay.
many dang times. I can see that happening because look at Harburg. He has thrown potentially over a dozen picks. I mean, he's
Mhm.
thrown balls into the breadbasket of defenders multiple times, or at least in catchable distance.
Mhm.
And I think that that's probably going to come back to bite us here soon. I don't think that we're going to win
Well,
that coin flip game that many times anymore. I think that we're going to
right.
see a lot more interceptions thrown
He's
from
gotta
Harburg.
he's definitely gotta be better at where he puts the football by the time we get to Wisconsin and Iowa, 'cause those defenses aren't playing around.
No.
So, that's why I think we need to be bowl eligible by the Maryland game, because I don't know if we win any of those last 3, if we don't win these next 3, but that's just me. That's after looking at stats and whatnot. So, um, what the heck? Let's take a look at our players to watch for the game. And I just used the ones that you gave me. I did not pick my own. I figure it's easiest and least hassle to just, I'll ask you one week what you think the players to watch are, and then I'll pick them for the other week. We'll just
Ooh, I like
alternate.
that.
That way it's easier.
That is easier. Because
Prep
we're
work,
usually right about on the same
we're pretty
page. And if
close.
if
Yeah.
we do have a slight disagreement, we can just say it.
Yep.
Like a conversation
So,
almost. Who knows?
and then I just threw the season stats for each player underneath their name then. So for those of you listening, we have picked quarterback Ben Bryant for Northwestern as a player to watch. He's 95 of 161 on pass attempts at 59% completion rate. Isn't great, isn't bad. And that's for a total of 926 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 4 INTs. And then for Nebraska, we also picked quarterback Heinrich Harburg, 50 of 96, which is 52% completion percentage, for a whopping 631 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 INTs. What was I'm going to scroll back a slide. Passing yards, we've got a total of 851. So Jeff Sims was only responsible for like barely 200 yards of passing in 2 games. So granted, he was hurt for most of the second half of the Colorado game. So there's a little bit of that there. Difference is Heinrich's a good runner, 69 carries, 352 yards, averages 5.1 yards a carry, and 3 touchdowns. So that's the guy we're looking at on offense for both teams. How about the defensive guys, Scott?
Yeah, I've got linebacker Xander Mueller. He's got 41 total tackles, 19 solo. He has 3.5 sacks and 1 interception. He is an absolute monster out on that field.
Yep.
And he's just one of those. He's kind of like that jack position that we have. He's just all over the dang place. And so I think he's going to give us a lot of hell. If we can't get the running game going, I think it's going to be because of this linebacker core that they have.
Sure.
Because we're not getting past that second level, I don't think, with the running back core we have right now.
It's a mash unit, that's for sure.
Yes. And then the fact that he's got an interception and stuff, like, I mean, you look at Northwestern, I mean, they're scrappy. So it's like you give them something, they're going to take it. And so I think that those contrast each other. Heinrich Harburg, is he going to lose that coin flip interception battle this game and give Northwestern turnovers in the air? And then on the flip side, you've got Ben Bryant and you've got John Bullock. I got John Bullock as our guy because dude is just going nuts. He is, I mean, he's not, I don't think he's like blowing the top off of the conference by any means. He's pretty average, but for a walk-on player, I mean, to be average in a Division I blue blood program, I mean, you're putting in some work. And then the fact that he just got the Brooke Berringer Award.
Yep.
That just shows the mental and testicle fortitude he's got as a football player. And I think that we're gonna see some really ugly complementary football, because I think the thing that makes this difference in this game, like we discussed, is the turnovers. Is Ben Bryant
Mhm.
going to throw interceptions? Is our secondary and linebacker core going to get scrappy with some picks?
Mhm.
And is those 2 pass deflected by John Bullock? Can one of those turn into an INT? That would be pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I really think, just looking at these offenses and this offense and defense categories, we are literally polar opposites on any given category. And so it's just going to be a weird, it's going
Mhm.
to be a weird game. It's just going to be a weird game. I just want to see, is Harburg going to throw picks? Is John Bullock going to keep looking? Is he going to keep improving off of his development?
Mhm.
And is the Xander Mueller guy going to create some hell for us, or are we going to be able to keep him on lockdown? And what is their quarterback going to look like? Is he going to be a game manager, or are we going to get in his head? That's what I'm looking at.
Good point. All good points. I think I feel differently on the defense in going into this game than you do. I do think they're going to take the ball away a couple times. Whether or not we give it away a couple times, I don't know. That part I don't know. But we've got to figure out a plan from Mueller for sure, how to get him out of the way when we get. Maybe we see a little bit more I formation and some Janaran Bonner in there blocking that guy, looking for that guy to knock him out of the way so that our backs have a few yards space to work in. That would be nice. So
Indeed.
let's do it. Let's predict the score. I know you've got us predicted to pull out a squeaker.
Yes,
Unless you changed your mind.
I've got Nebraska winning 24-20. And I don't know how it's going to look. I really don't. I don't know if it's going to be a backloaded half where we have to come back, or is it going to be a backloaded half from Northwestern that they start putting a comeback, or is it just going to be neck and neck back and forth the whole way through? I have no idea. With the volatility of both of these offenses to make mistakes, and our defense's proclivity to bend don't break, this is going to be a weird game. I think it's going to be one of those Northwestern spectacles of just back and forth rock fight like you described. That's what I think. But I think Nebraska comes out on top simply because just of the intangibles of the teams. I mean, Nebraska's got a coach. We've got an actual head coach. We've got a culture that has, won a few games this year, that we are, 50, we are 500 going to the halfway point of the season, which was what everybody was expecting. Northwestern is better than they were expected to be, but okay. You know what? I think I've just realized that I made an emotional prediction of picking Nebraska to win, because really the way I've talked about it this whole time, I mean, if it's a coin flip game. It's a coin flip game, and Nebraska doesn't end up on the winning side of that coin flip as of late. So
as of late.
Yeah, as of the last 4 years. So until they can show me that they can.
Illinois was a coin flip.
It was until they can show me they can do it consistently. Like, okay, you did it against Northwestern. Yeah. Well, Scott Frost did it against Michigan State in 2018.
Yeah. That wasn't a coin flip though. They were definitely underdogs in that game. So yeah, I hear you. I know where you're coming from. I'm more confident than you are. I do think it's going to be a rock fight for one half. For sure. The first half is going to be Nebraska figuring it out. Maybe Heinrich struggles really bad in the first half and Sims comes in the second half. I don't know. I know a lot of people are saying Heinrich's not a quarterback. He can't throw the ball. He's not a quarterback. Well, he's made some throws. He's also made some bad decisions. I'm not going to completely trash the kid. But I've got us winning, scoring a few more points than you, and I've got them only kicking 3 field goals or getting a touchdown and a safety, which would be a totally Nebraska thing to have happen against Northwestern.
Yeah.
But I've got us winning 30-9. And if I were to make a bold prediction, I know I never mentioned bold predictions at all on this, and I apologize. That's something we usually do. My bold prediction is that Tristan Alvano's 3 for 3 from field goals. Nebraska scores 21 points via 1 pass, 2 runs, and then 3 field goals by Alvano. One of them 45-plus yards away would be my bold prediction.
Nice.
So 30-9 Nebraska. And I'm going strictly on how this defense has performed. I think they're going to – Northwestern's offense is just as much a dumpster fire as Illinois' was. So I don't see them having much success. And we're both coming off a bye week. So I don't know what kind of team Northwestern's going to bring in. But
I'm going to say my bold prediction is we're going to see somebody on our offense. I'm not going to get specifics. I'm going to say we're going to see somebody on our offense get a 50-plus yard gain. No, 50-plus yard touchdown. Doesn't have to be run, doesn't have to be pass. Just a player on our offense gets a 50-yard long touchdown score. And it's from a name that has no statistical significance on our team thus far. They might not even be in a statistical category yet because we're so down and out. And one of our 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th walk-on stringers just comes into the game and just is in the right place at the right time, and boom, touchdown. That's my bold prediction.
I can certainly see that for sure.
You
So
suck, camera.
that pretty much wraps up our preview. That was pretty easy, almost painless, other than looking at offensive numbers. It was very painless. So let's move on to something that we started last week. We kind of been doing without calling it what it is in previous shows as well. It's a segment we call 3 Tweeted. Now, I realize my communication skills on Twitter are not what they could be, simply because 240 characters is not enough room for a long-winded old fart like me to figure out how to tell people what I have in mind. So I will try my best to do that on this show. For those of you who don't know what 3 Tweeted is, it is us picking out 3 tweets on Twitter that we like. Hot takes, funny, insightful, whatever the case may be. And throwing those up on the screen, sharing those with you and the listeners as well. And then the winner, the 3 people who get chosen, are going to get a free bag of pipeline jerky from us. And I've got that ordered. Should be in this week. So the first 3 people this week will get their bag of jerky sometime soon, if they're, of course, comfortable sharing their personal information for me to mail that out to them. Otherwise, we'll figure out a way to meet up at a tailgate or something and get their jerky to them. So anyway, 3 Tweeted works like this. Here, I'm actually going to fast forward to a slide that I actually have it listed on. And there it is. To win a free bag of pipeline jerky, you create a college football-related hot take tweet, if you will, or insightful, funny, whatever you want to do. The second step is to tag either at GenRedPod, which is my Twitter account, or at Scott GenRedPod, or tag both. It's kind of cool. Get us both engaged in the process. Then the third step is you just add the hashtag #, the number 3 tweeted. And there you go. You add that to the tweet and then you post it. And that's easy peasy. And if we pick it, and it has to be posted before noon on the Sunday of each GenRed live stream. So by noon today, if you posted it, I looked at it, I saw it, and I either picked it or I didn't. But this week was easy. Only 3 people followed the directions. So it will be very easy for me to share these with you. The first tweet is from Dr. Abby something. I don't get the whole doctor thing that's going on Twitter. She could actually be a doctor. I've met Abby. She's an absolute sweetheart. I believe one of the hosts of the Pop and Kernels podcast. So morning after bye week thoughts. We avoided chaos weekend. Stanford, Notre Dame, CSU, Pitt, Iowa, and Illini all contributed to chaos that we didn't expect. 90s childhood plus 2000s to 20s adulthood plus the 2023 Big Ten West equals we could go bowling or lose out. He's saying what we were saying earlier. We could either win all 6 or we could lose all 6 or some combination in between. We are a volleyball school and proud of it. They kicked the crap out of number 13 Penn State on Saturday night, giving Penn State their first conference loss. And then this is Northwestern, quote unquote, love week. So thank you, Dr. Abby something. We appreciate that. If you're listening to this podcast or you happen to see this on YouTube, I will be reaching out to you to get your bag of jerky to you. Your choice too between the peppercorn and the honey barbecue. So I like the peppercorn, but that's just me. Number 2 would be our buddy Brian at Husker Army Podcast. So congratulations, Brian. I can't believe he's not actually watching. He's probably recording their show right now. No, they're not. It just posted today because it was recorded Thursday. Anyway, he says Harburg needs to remain QB1. Offensive line, we know the issues. Fix them. Young wide receivers have to step up. Who emerges from a banged-up running back stable? Northwestern isn't a gimme, and the black shirts are hungry for a shout-out. Shut out, shout out, shut out. So which one is it, Brian? Is this not a gimme, or will the black shirts knock out a shutout? Both can't be true necessarily when you're talking that way. But anyway, we appreciate the tweet. We appreciate you following the rules, if you will. So I will be in touch with you, Brian, and get your bag of jerky out to you as soon as I get it in. Next tweet is our buddy, former co-host on here for a couple weeks in a row, Mr. Texas Toast, at Texas Toasty54. Number 1, Harburg will remain QB1 the rest of the season. Number 2, the Black Shirts will finish the season as a top 10 defense. Now there's a hot take.
That's a very hot take.
And number 3, Nebraska will finish 8-4, only losing to Wisconsin the rest of the season. Now, I'm not sure if you believe all 3 of these are going to happen, Jake, or just one of the 3, because I'm pretty certain if you're 8-4, you're not a top 10 defense. You'd have to be 9-3 to probably produce a top 10 defense, in my opinion. But yeah, that's definitely. So what do you think of that take there specifically? Wow.
Well, from a statistical standpoint, Nebraska would have to play as like the number 1 defense for 6 weeks in a row in order to counteract our like top 100 performance, or in the pass category specifically, because all of our other categories are within the top 40 at least. So we'd have to clean up those categories to be in the top 20, and then some category would have to be top 5, and the rest of them can't go above top 25. And so that is a hot take. I don't know if that's even possible. I mean, that would be a quick, immediate turnaround. But I see the only way that that's possible is the fact that we're playing against basically a bunch of garbage offenses besides Maryland coming up here. But then again, we have a garbage offense, so it's not really.
Sure.
It's not like I'm not taking a low blow. Trust me, guys. I know we suck, but no, I think the whole 3-tweeted thing is fun, creates engagement. If you guys do see a tweet that isn't yours, but you think is really interesting or you think is fun, just tag us in that as well, and then hashtag it 3Pete. Because
there you go. Yep.
Who knows? Maybe there's an anonymous person that you're just like, damn, that is the best take I've seen all week. If Gen Red's algorithm doesn't show it, well, here, tag you at it, and then we reach out to said person, and maybe they get a free bag of jerky. And they're just like, what? I don't know what I did. I'm just here, and I just got a bag of jerky because of a tweet. That's cool. So you can do that as well if you want. If you think there's a good tweet somewhere, just tag us in it, and we'll try our best to reach out. And if the person doesn't want the bag of jerky, well, then you're the person who gets it potentially. That's just an option. Yeah. So it's a fun little segment. I'm excited for it because I just love Twitter takes.
The tweets crack me up. Some of them are really, really insightful. And I do have some poll results. So
yes,
throw those up here in just a second. And there they are. It was a close race. Surprisingly,
Runza came almost close to a comeback.
Almost made her done. So yeah, out of 145 votes, the Fairbury hot dog won with 37.9% of the vote. And Runza came in surprisingly in second at 34.5%. And then Val's Pizza was kind of a distant third, 27.6%. For me, Val's Pizza lately has been kind of mushy too. I don't know what it is, if they just don't bake them quite long enough, but the dough is real doughy, and I just soon eat a hot dog. So, yeah, there you go.
Well, that makes sense because, if those first two are soggy for you, then it's like, well, by process of elimination, get a hot dog. I mean, you get a cheeseburger, but who really gets the cheeseburger at the game? I mean,
right.
I think I've gotten one, and it's like, it would be like what you would expect a cheeseburger to be at like a very low budget, like company function, where it's like, we're going to get the cheapest burgers we can get. and we're gonna give them to you. But
Yeah.
no, my thought is I almost always exclusively go for Runzas, and then secondarily I go for Valentino's. But surprisingly, my favorite actually is a hot dog. But
Mm.
because I'm a budget fiend and I like getting the best bang for my buck, the weight to price ratio of hot dogs, I have to get 2 hot dogs to feel as full as getting
Yeah.
any one slice of pizza or one Runza. So if I'm paying, because what is it, $4 a dog?
For a dog, yeah.
I'm paying $8 for 2 hot dogs to feel as full as I spent $6 on a Runza or whatever it is, $5 on a Runza. I don't remember what it is, but
Sure.
so that's my thought process is like, okay, if I'm feeling like I'm balling, like I got that cash, boy, I'm ready to drop some drip,
Mhm.
I'm getting 2 hot dogs. That's what I'm doing. I'm spending
2
that
hot dogs.
$8 and I'm getting that souvenir cup that
Mhm.
my wife won't let me keep. And then that's that, you know.
Mhm. I do like those souvenir cups they've got going out this year with the 100th anniversary.
Yep. I did keep that one. I think oh no, that's the volleyball one. I've got the 100th anniversary one somewhere. Got the volleyball one.
Yep. Oh, that's right. You got a volleyball. I don't know if we did. I don't remember if I got a volleyball one. I think I had like a bottle of Pepsi or something at the game.
I did, because it was like, though this is a pretty historic day. So if it
Yeah.
does turn out that we beat the record, it's like, well, I have a little thing that I can be like, look at that, memento, ta-da.
Yep, absolutely. So we got soaked on Friday. Was it Friday that we played golf? Yeah, it was Friday. Wasn't it?
afternoon.
Yeah, that was fun. That's a fun fact. We went out and were stupid enough in those gale force winds. At least it felt like it once we got a little wet and that drizzle and stuff, and just got
Numb
off golf, but it
hands.
was fun.
Everything was wet. Everything was cold.
Mm-hmm.
But we played decent golf. I mean, considering it would have been bad golf if it was a regular golf game, but considering the elements, I feel like we would have played a lot better had we not been shaking and shivering.
I agree. I went back in the clubhouse after I turned the cart in and was talking with the guy that I get my instruction or my lessons from, and just told him, I said, I felt really good. The ball striking was good today for me, just by changing up my backswing a little bit. And I hit more fairways than I missed. And then, but putting, it was just, I couldn't not 3-putt minimum. So he told me, he says, one of these days after your shift, we'll just take like 10, 15 minutes, run out to the putting green. I'll give you a couple more tips. So
Cool.
that's gracious of him. I appreciate it very much. But it was fun. That's a beautiful course, even in the rain and the wind. It was an absolute blast to play. So I'm really looking forward to it.
And those greens, I still can't believe how fast those greens were. It was
As wet as it
soaking
was.
wet and it was rolling like it was on ice. You would just give it just a little tap and it would roll like 15, 20 feet. You're just like, what? I can't even do that on a super dry day at our local course. I don't even know how that's possible. But they got really nice greens. They got them little short ones, little stubble.
Really
that's all
beautiful.
it is. The stubble greens are the best.
There's always mowers going out on the greens and the fairways and stuff when I'm pulling in there at 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. So they don't mess around. They make sure they take absolutely perfect care of that course. And I really am looking forward to playing it, and hopefully better weather come October 23rd, because I did sign up for the Bushwood Classic, I think is what it's called. It's where members play with all the staff. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I'll get to play with a certain guy that is a big Husker fan. That would be kind of cool. And
That'd be pretty cool.
Maybe get him in the studio eventually. So
that'd be pretty sick. He's kind of a funny guy too.
Yes, it would. Anyway,
kind of a funny guy to talk to, I'd imagine.
Yeah, he's got a good sense of humor for sure. Well, he has to. He's a Husker fan, right?
Yeah, you got to be in this state of eternal torture to see the humor in it.
Absolutely. Anyway, our next live stream before we wrap things up will be next Sunday, October 22nd at 3:30 p.m. Central, just like this one. You can watch it live on our YouTube channel, Facebook page, or Twitter feed at GenRedPod. GenRedPod.com is our website, where you can also sign up and get subscribed to our feed, our podcast feed, as well as any of our social medias. So make sure you go visit genredpod.com. We'd appreciate it. And that pretty much wraps it up. Scott, where can folks follow you?
Yeah, folks, you can follow me on Twitter at ScottGenRedPod. That's Scott with 2 T's. Second T is silent. Follow me there. Not really active on there all that much. So it's probably not worth your time, but by all means, give me a follow. I'm just such a lurker, man. I just don't feel like there's like I feel like all of the good opinions are better for everybody else to find them. You know, like I just want to absorb all of the opinions. Just give me all of them, and then I'll decide from them which ones I like.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them floating out there. That's for darn sure. No doubt about it. Anyway, as I said before, genredpod.com is our website. genredpod@gmail.com is our email. Nobody's taken us up on emailing us, Scott. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because I say I don't read them, but eventually I will. I promise. Just email us and send us comments.
You got to get with the times, man.
Yeah, I know.
Got to get with the times. People don't do email anymore. They do
you
smoke
can DM
signals.
me. DM me. Slide into my DMs if you want.
Sign language. Abstract beep sounds. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. You can still send us an email. Like,
sure, we'd love it. We'd
tweet
love
it. DM us. I don't know.
Yeah, DM us on Twitter. That'd be kind of cool.
Send us the memes.
Yes, memes. We love memes. Absolutely love memes. They're very meaningful. You knew I had to go at least do one. Just I have to. It's almost like a rule. Not RHULE either. Anyway. He's Scott. I'm Ken. Together we're Generation Red, and we are here covering the inevitable rise to greatness by the Huskers once again, just one podcast at a time, because there's no place like Nebraska.
Yes, and Iowa's corn sucks penguin poop. I don't know. That was the first thing that came to mind.
It's getting cold enough. It sounds about right.
Yeah, I was going to do a different P word, but I figured let's keep it at least somewhat PG.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, penguin popcorn.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All righty, folks. Well, we'll see you next week, and go Big Red.
Go Big Red.